So another community has come along and taken my breath away. I have fallen in love with the Groves in Humble, Texas, and in this video I'm gonna give you an overview of everything that you need to know if you're thinking about making the move to the Groves in Humble, Texas. Hi, my name is Aaron, and every week I'm helping buyers relocate to and throughout the greater city of Houston and the surrounding suburbs. So if you need to know anything about where to eat, sleep, live, play, hit me up morning, noon, or night. I'm your guy. It doesn't matter if you're a day, a week, a month, a year, 2 years away from making that decision. If you want to be in the city of Houston and the surrounding suburbs, I would love to be a resource to you. And so today we're talking about a sub community, a planned community in Humble, Texas. It's called the Groves. It's one of the prettiest communities I've ever seen, and it does one of those things that most developers just don't seem to do here, and that is to leave the infrastructure of the trees surrounding the location to make it feel both secluded as well as completely thought out and planned. Most of these developers go through and they basically just decimate all trees and land and life that would have been there before. But the theme here in the Groves that you kind of feel over and over again is basically living in the woods. I think they even have some signs throughout the community basically saying living in the woods, right? And it just really feels that way. All the streets are wide streets and just super pretty, but surrounding each little section you have your own little forest surrounding you, and so it just feels really green. It gives off a super woodlands vibe, and it's just one of the things and one of the prettiest communities that I have always wanted to be a part of was the woodlands. And so to get that in Humble, Texas, much closer to the city, is just always a plus. Another community that does this super well is just north of here in the Highlands. But this community up in Humble, Texas, the Groves, is chef's kiss. I wouldn't change anything about it. So it's about 25 miles away, so definitely one of the closer suburb type city vibes that you can get to the Houston metro. Most of our suburbs typically run between 30 and 40 miles away from downtown Houston if you're talking about actual suburb life. So this is definitely one of the closest suburbs you can get to actually being outside the city of Houston and having your own infrastructure. Definitely one of the best locations that you can be in. This community is gorgeous. It has some of my favorite builders out there, from Chesmar all the way up to your Toll Brothers and your Weston, that give you a range of more entry-level products that are nice and luxury, as well as all the way up to super luxury and a custom one-of-one sort of feel. So you get definitely a huge variety of different styles of home that you can get as far as size and price range within the Groves. And so to hop on over to their site and just kind of show you what I mean, you get from Chesmar, you get Perry Homes, which is like a Texas staple, some Shea Homes. They're also a super nice builder out here. The more premium luxury builders in the market are definitely going to be Weston and Toll Brothers. Chesmar is in their final stages of closing out. This isn't a new community, so one of the things that I kick myself about is I heard about this community probably like 3 or 4 years ago, and I just never went up there just because I was stuck in my ways of being like, I'm a city boy, I'll never live in the burbs, right? And I'm very mad that I missed out on how gorgeous this community was. But it's not all lost, right? The people that are still there, you still have Perry, you still have Weston. Perry has 3 sections between 45 and 60 foot. You still have Shea out there. You still have Toll Brothers, and you still have Weston. So it's definitely going to be the bigger, a little bit more expensive builders are still out there. Chesmar has like 3 or 4 home sites left as of the recording of this video. Highland Homes is completely sold out. So it is definitely winding down, but there are definitely some great opportunities still to be had. And I'll show you some B-roll right now of some of the homes that we went and toured from Weston and Toll Brothers, and man, I mean, just some of the prettiest houses that I have ever seen. The model that was probably my favorite was the Toll Brothers model. It was just like the perfection that I would consider a home. The home that I aspire to have and will one day have is that Toll Brothers layout, and that Toll Brothers home. Just I have no notes on that home. And so definitely a gorgeous community, as you can see kind of from all of the photos. They are strategic in leaving the trees behind you, so it feels, first off, it feels like it's not a brand new community. It feels like it's very thought out. It feels like it's very planned, and you get that vibe as you go through. And it's just one of the little small little things that developers do that make it feel like a great and exclusive location. It also feels secluded, and gives you that sense of being tucked away from the world when you're inside of the Groves. So this place has a ton of amenities. You're going to have your own lifestyle manager in the community that is ensuring that fresh ideas and new things are being brought to the residents of the community. There's tons of walking trails surrounded by these beautiful trees. You have the gorgeous amenities of the pools and the lifestyle training facility, all of those things on site. You're just going to have a ton that you can do in the Groves, as well as the surrounding amenities around you. You're going to have your Dealbrook Mall. You're going to have all of these nature parks surrounding you. You're going to have probably the biggest attraction of them all for the people that like to do boating and fishing and all that stuff, and that is Lake Houston, just east of you, not too far, just a couple miles, but probably within 10 miles of the community. You'll have Lake Houston there, where you can go and do all of your water sports, all of your fishing, kayaking, all the stuff that you will want to do. It's going to be right at your fingertips in the Groves in Humble, Texas. And so to hop back on over to their site, this is just going a little bit more in depth in the things that they have. They're going to have their lifestyle center, where you have your playgrounds, your splash pad, your pools, all of that stuff. They're going to have Circuit Park, where you're going to have your various fitness things that they have going on. They have their fishing camp. They have the fields where they're going to be doing all of their fun activities for like the yard, where you can have all of your community events that are going to be outdoors. There's just a bunch that they have at this community, and it's just a super gorgeous place. Like I said, I got there, and as I was driving through the initial gate, I was just like, man, this is it. This is perfect. This has changed my mind about so many communities that I've gone to over the last quarter, either touring for content or for clients. And this is just one of those ones where it just felt like home the moment that I drove onto Madera. And because you are where you are, you get the ability to get a bit of the best of both worlds. You get a little bit of that country style living where you can be out near the lake, and you also get the benefit of being close to the city of Houston and still being to use that infrastructure and the fun that is to be had in the center of the city. And so who do I think this community is basically made for? I think it's made for people that are just like me, that have a young family, that are getting with kiddos to that school age where schools and things are important. Safe environment is important, and you also like the amenities and need something that is going to be sustainable without being forced to go in and out of the city too much. Right now, currently, we live in the Independence Heights area, and there's some infrastructural things that we love as far as restaurants and things to do close to the city, but we really don't have that neighborhood vibe where we feel like we can just walk and be and do anything that we want to do in that community. And the Groves definitely gives you a different take on that. Everything was really clean. Everybody was super nice. Everybody was waving. People of different backgrounds. So much diversity that we saw just in the hour or so that we were out there touring. Just a really gorgeous community vibe. So that's the ideal person. You're going to have your infrastructure that sets you up basically for commercial, as well as the school systems. Everything tied to the community is just going to be top notch. So I definitely think it's a great location for young families and people looking to be in a super clean location that is going to give you a mix of the best of both worlds, between being in the country near the lake and also being tucked near the city. So if you are like me and my family, and we are at that age where we're not quite ready for school yet, but you want to plan for the future as far as having your education already set up for your kiddo, then this is a place that you're going to want to be. In the school district for the greater Humble area is Humble ISD, and they have some pretty solid stats. So checking out Humble ISD, this is from niche.com. I'll leave a link in the description so you can go and check it out more in depth. But this is the school system that the Groves are going to be tied to, and it is A+ on diversity. That's always super important to me. Great teachers, great academics, clubs, and all that stuff, right? So it is definitely going to be a safe, great environment for your kiddos to grow up all the way from elementary to high school. Now, the elephant in the room with being so close to Lake Houston, is this place a flood risk? Houston saw so much change happen during Harvey. A lot of the infrastructure that we have has forever changed, especially on the real estate side. There's so much information that we have at our fingertips that, you know, no matter where you're buying, especially if you're in a place like this that is very close to Lake Houston and you have a certain elevated risk factor, we're going to want to know everything that we can about that community before you decide to buy there, before I decide to buy there, anybody decides to buy there. There's so much infrastructure in place right now that we can do a thorough search and make sure that you're comfortable with whatever it is that you're buying. And so to hop on over into HAR right now, as you can see, this is a very sought after location. There's only 40 listings, 39 listings in here right now in the Groves, and most of them are going to be in your 60-foot sections. So just kind of looking at what we have right now, one of the first things that we do for any of my clients that are looking in the area, we're going to look at the flood maps and the floodplains for these areas. And so using this as a perfect example, this has been here a couple years, so this would have been after Harvey, and it's had enough rain events since Harvey to kind of see if it would be any issues or any drama. And the first thing that we would do is go and check out the flood map to kind of see what the initial thing is telling us about that community. And so zooming out a little bit, you see Lake Houston over here being big and gnarly. And then you see the Groves basically in the middle of here being in the X zone. Should you be forced to have flood insurance? No, but like I tell all of my clients, I don't care where you buy, where you plan on living in the city of Houston and surrounding metro, you always have flood insurance no matter what. Because you're in the X zone, it should only cost you, you know, $400 or $500 a year for the peace of mind that your house is going to be completely covered and taken care of in the event that something goes crazy and we get something that is bigger, badder, meaner than a Harvey in the greater Groves area. And the next thing that we check out when we're going through any of these kind of homes in an area that has some level of elevated risk is the seller's disclosure. So we'll hop on over and check that out right now. And so this is a seller's disclosure. This is the document that we look at most in depth to see if anything has ever occurred at that residence that you're thinking about buying, right? So we're going and we're looking at all the documents. Have they ever had any issues or drama that they know about? And the most important section here for the flood risk is, are you in the floodplain? They're saying no pretty much on everything. But most important is, have you ever claimed anything for FEMA for flooding? This is the tell-all. So if anything has ever happened at that community that the seller is aware of, that's going to be here. They're going to have probably filed a claim if they ever had any major flood damage. So the floodplain map says no, and they have not claimed anything as far as insurance on the property. So this is probably a solid one that no major flood event has ever happened in this home. And so with flooding, anywhere is a case-by-case basis. Flooding can occur anywhere in the greater Humble area. I've seen some neighborhoods that on just a heavy rain are super flooded, where the streets are too high for you to basically move around unless you have a big truck. But the Groves seem to not have had that problem being built. You know, most of their community was built after 2017, after Harvey. So a lot of the elevation issues that you would have of being lower and near the water, you wouldn't have, just because to sell those houses, you would have to have built the houses up above a level of where Harvey impacted in most of that area. So you should be good to go in the Groves in Humble, Texas. And the last thing that we need to touch on in a community like the Groves in Humble, Texas are the taxes. The tax trends here are basically the same for all brand new construction that has happened within the last 5 or so years in the community surrounding Houston, Texas, is that the taxes are going to be fairly high. So with an entry point of $400,000 and a tax rate over 3, you need to expect to pay over $1,000 a month just for taxes. That's before principal, interest, and insurance. You're going to pay $1,000 a month just for taxes until the overall tax rate for the area comes down a little bit. Now you'll have a little bit of relief with your homestead exemption. If you're not familiar with what that is, that's basically an exemption and a credit that you get for being your primary residence in the greater Houston metro. You get a percentage of your taxes waived for that being your primary residence. But out the gate, for many of these people living in the Groves, you're going to have a tax bill of over $1,000 a month. And so to use that same gorgeous house that we were just looking at, this one is nearly $600,000. They've had a little bit of a price drop, nearly $600,000. But scrolling down to check out the tax rate right now is 3.5. So, you know, for a house that's, you know, let's say it is 600,000 and you have a tax rate of over 3, you're gonna pay $18,000 a year just for taxes, right? That doesn't include any of the other things, any of the other maintenance, any of that stuff. But that is pretty common throughout the greater Houston metro for brand new construction of things that have happened outside of the Beltway. The biggest portion of that payment for most of these communities is like a mud tax, because you are going somewhere that didn't once have the infrastructure to trash, sewer, waste, all of those amenities that come with being in an established community. You have to pay a mud tax to get that infrastructure to the new community. And so that's why a lot of these places are super high on a tax rate when you come to buying new construction outside of the Beltway. So how did I do? Are you thinking that the Groves could be a perfect spot for you? I love it. It has skyrocketed to the top of my list because of the amenities, how gorgeous it is, how close it is to the city, and all the things that you can do. I wouldn't have to lose too much of my current lifestyle by living out there, just a little bit longer commute. So I think it is perfect for me, but is it perfect for you? If you're thinking about making that move to Humble, Texas, I'll put some videos on the screen right now. If you're not quite sold on Humble and want to check out some other suburb communities, I'll drop those videos as well. I look forward to hearing from you, and I hope you have an amazing day.